This is Scott Chaskey, poet-farmer in Sag Harbor, New York. Invitation to the journey. Thankfully, poetry by its very nature eludes every attempt at summation or prosaic description. Still, for 40 years I have returned to this beautiful evocation by Octavio Paz from The Bow and the Lyre, here translated into English by Ruth Sims. Poetry is knowledge, salvation, power, abandonment. An operation capable of changing the world, poetic activity is revolutionary by nature. A spiritual exercise, it is a means of interior liberation. Poetry reveals this world, it creates another. Bread of the chosen, accursed food. It isolates, it unites. Invitation to the journey, return to the homeland. Inspiration, respiration, muscular exercise, prayer to the void, dialogue with absence, tedium, anguish, and despair, nourish it. Pure and impure, sacred and damned, popular and of the minority, collective and personal, naked and clothed, spoken, painted, written. It shows every face, but there are those who say that it has no face. The poem is a mask that hides the void, a beautiful proof of the superfluous grandeur of every human work. The interview you are about to hear, conducted in 1983, 8 years before Paz was awarded the Nobel Prize for Literature, is the record of a conversation that takes place between two spirited and original poets, the Mexican master at age 69 and the young and curious British writer-artist age 30. Melinda Camber Porter begins with a plan, as a journalist is trained to do, but immediately following their introduction, conversation begins to spin and is enlivened through a shared poetic sensibility. Melinda is interested in Octavio's cosmology. At first he retreats. "That's a big question, cosmology," he replies, but throughout the course of the interview she sort of coaxes some of this out of him, artist to artist. They discuss history, psychology, the creative process, politics, eroticism, the accuracy of Milton's hell, and they comment on an eclectic mix of writers. Whitman, William Blake, Camus, Shelley, Baudelaire, Eliot, Thoreau, and Sor Juana Inés de la Cruz. Though again and again the conversation returns to the poetic. In the epilogue to The Bow and the Lyre, Paz wrote, "All poetic creation is historical. Every poem is a longing to deny succession and to establish an enduring realm." Paz imagines not only using language, but being on it as a wave. I can see myself swimming in the language. As Melinda moves down the street, she sometimes becomes the words she imagines. She too is swept into the wave. Paz observes that in his work he hopes to transcend the limits of reason. The great problem of our time, he notes, is the separation of reason and the unconscious. As a young writer, Melinda wonders where intellect alone will take us, and this leads the older writer to debate the triumph of rationalism, sexual repression, and the nature of love. As a listener, it is a delight to follow their thought, to ride the wave that carries us to the shore of language. Paz names Matisse as the great painter of the 20th century, but he also admires Duchamp and wrote a book about him. For introducing doubt and lust and satirical comedy into his artistic expression. Socrates surfaces in the discussion as a philosopher-comedian, Wordsworth and Blake as poets who give embodiment to the world. Throughout this conversation, I am encouraged to return to the source material, be it a Blake poem, Wordsworth's Skating in the Woods, or Paz's own texts. In an essay on America's 19th century bard, Whitman, poet of America, Paz wrote, "The American utopia is confused with and is indistinguishable from the American reality." Americans will be interested, some will be perturbed, to read the exchange between Melinda and Octavio, born and raised elsewhere, that touches on our naivete and reports that California is not really a place. Yes, we are a society determined to exist outside of history, we know this, but Paz brilliantly observes, that whole enormous mass of reality moves swiftly as if it had no weight. And indeed it lacks historical weight. It is the future that is being incarnated. Melinda leads Paz to comment on the complications of Central American society and of the contradictions between the foundations of the U.S. and empire. It is sobering in 2016 to contemplate questions of national identity, democracy, and imperialism through the lens of a Mexican diplomat, a gifted and original thinker, and a British journalist, each passionate about the use of words. Melinda informs Octavio that she is interested in the practicalities of the writing process. She praises the form, like no other she has encountered, of the monkey grammarian, my own favorite. Hanuman, the mythological monkey, composes a poem on mountain rock, not with a pen, but using the instruments of lightning and rain, and then he heaves the rock fragments into the sea. Like a spiral seashell, all times are this time now, which is nothing, except like cut crystal, the momentary condensation of other times into an insubstantial clarity. Through this unique conversation, these two enter into that clarity. What Paz refers to in his Nobel lecture as our divided condition resolves itself into an understanding to our benefit. Then the doors of perception open slightly, and the other time appears, the real one we were searching for without knowing it, the present, the presence.